This conference will now be recorded.
Very good afternoon to one and all present over here. And I am very much delighted to welcome you all for 6 days training on research data analysis using SPSS. And myself, Dr. Raja, founder, ResearchBrains, academic research lab. And we serve scholars from computer science, communication, and managerial disciplines in their various stages of research. And I am very much privileged to welcome our today's resource person, Dr. Amir Hussain. He is currently working as an associate professor from Bangalore. He has done his Ph.D. in management from ICFA University and production engineering from Anna University. He has more than 10 years of rich teaching, research, and industrial experience. His subject area of expertise includes marketing management, service marketing, research methodology, consumer behavior, and organizational conflict management. He has published many research papers in reputed national and international journals. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much, Raja sir, for giving such a warm introduction. So just a moment, I'm adjusting my screen so that we'll be ready.
Okay, sir. No issue.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Okay. Fine. All right. Okay, so once again, I thank ResearchBrains for giving me an opportunity to share the knowledge that I have related with SPSS, that is on data analysis. Okay, so it's basically a 6-day program. So almost will be spending 1 or 2.5 hours every day, starting from 14th to 19th of March. That is from Monday to till Saturday. So I hope that this program will be very useful for the research scholars and for the students who are doing their internship or who are planning to do their internship, and also for the faculty who are pretty active in writing research papers and publication. Right. So with this warm note, I would like to start my session on this data analysis using SPSS. So let me check. I think there may be a few other participants who may be yet to join. Okay, meanwhile, we'll start with the warm introduction. Right, so now before I start the session, okay, we all are very much interested, not audible. Okay. Raja sir, can you please check? Is there any problem with the audio?
No, no,
sir. Maybe there, and I think it's perfect. For us, we are getting your voice very clearly. Go ahead.
Okay. So being a faculty, so it's audible, fine. So being a faculty, I am always against this free training, because you know how the receiver would be thinking. So it is almost like 100 rupees, a very, very nominal charge. You can say that it is almost a free session, okay? That 100 rupees service charge is just that, you know, we want to give some kind of certificate. When it comes to the training, it is almost free, almost. So it is just for coordination purpose and some kind of facilitation purpose. And more importantly, the amount that we have charged, it is just for the participant to get some kind of active, because we do come across, if at all, if you're having some kind of free training program, now we do come across participants who are very particular about getting the certificate. I'm sure that people, whoever has, but especially when it comes to the paid training program, people are very particular about it. So that's one reason why we have kept it as a very, very nominal charge. There is no profit motive on this. I'm sure you will understand during this program, right? So with this note, so I want each and every participant to be very, very active, okay? So I'm not somebody from a Harvard Business School or someone from IIM Bangalore, so more like a faculty like you. So that I'll be just sharing the knowledge, whatever that I have on SPSS, and how I have used SPSS, what is my approach towards SPSS, so that on a very, very friendly note, we can discuss each other, and you can stop me whenever you wanted to have, and we can have a discussion on this. right? So once again, I want this session to be pretty interactive, starting from day 1 to till day 6, so that we both can get mutual benefit out of it, right? So this is the first screen that I have put up. And also we conducted one free training program also, where I've told you about the importance of research and how to do a data entry in SPSS. So in case if somebody has attended that session, you can see at least 50% of the session will be linked to that, because I cannot skip, because there are few new participants who has also joined. Now, are you able to see the screen, sir? Some images? Are you able to see the screen? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what is your initial reaction to this image? Can I know the reaction from the participants? What do you find it on this screen? What is your initial reaction towards? These are all some of the images that you have picked from internet. What is your initial reaction towards this? Any volunteer? What is your reaction towards these images? Is it good or bad? The items what the kids are having in their hand? Are these items bad?
Bad, sir. Obviously bad,
So
sir.
the problem is not with the items, whatever they are holding. It may be a knife or a hammer, scissor, and a axe. So these are all very, very important tools, which is very useful for the human mankind. But the person who's holding these items is very, very dangerous, right? So this is what I would relate with. This knife is SPSS. This hammer is Amos. This scissor is R programming, and this axe is any other software like Tableau. Now, this is how the entire research world is moving towards, especially in India. You can see that many of the research scholars are very much interested in learning the tools and techniques, but forget to understand the underlying concept behind it. Believe me, sir, a time is going to come where all these research tools, whatever that we are learning, it's going to get performed automatically by the voice recognition. A nice chap from US or from the Michigan University, he might say that, okay, run correlation, and the smart software is going to run and it is going to give the output for it. So our attitude towards data analysis should not be restricted only to the tools and techniques. Today it is SPSS, tomorrow it may be some other software. And to make it simple, SPSS is very old. Almost it is a 30, 40-year-old software it is. It's a very, very old software. But then also people are learning. So our focus should be more towards how to handle my data. What is the meaning of the term correlation? What is regression? Where I have to use this? What is the interpretation for it? What is hypothesis? That occupies 90% weightage in our data analysis. Next comes the tools. It could be SPSS, or it could be any other tool for that matter, or it could be simple Excel. In fact, when we were discussing whatever technique that we are learning today, everything is possible in Excel also, but we are using SPSS because it is user friendly and the voluminous amount of data that we are going to handle. Right. So with this note, let us give some introduction to this research. What is research all about? Okay, and what is the role of data analysis in research, and what are the different techniques of data analysis that we are planning to have in these 5 or 6 days of session. Right. Now, okay. Now, can somebody tell me? I'm sure that whoever has registered for this webinar, they all should be having some kind of understanding of research. Can someone tell me what is the objective of research? Why do we do research, sir? Why do we do research? To publish papers? To get Ph.D? Of course, that is there, but what is the ultimate objective of research? Why do we do research? Yes? Why do we do research?
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, ultimately, what I feel, there should be some benefit from that for the society.
It has to have some benefit to the society, fine.
Yes.
Right. Any other
Of course.
objective? Why do we do research?
of course, we will be having a personal intention also, like getting PhD or publishing, anything will be there.
Right.
But what I feel in a broader spectrum, this is the intention.
Right. Fine.
Thank you.
Any other opinion or any other this I feel that this is the objective of research. This is the reason why people are doing research. All right. Okay. Now, if you have referred many literatures, okay, this is the common understanding that we can get. The objective of doing research is that to provide information. Of course, man has said that it benefits the society. Of course, that could be one of the objectives of research, especially if at all, if you're taking some UGC sponsored project or ICSSR project, that project will have some benefit to the society. Agreed for that. But on a broader sense, why I do research or why somebody else do research related with social science or applied research, whatever research, or it could be a corporate related one, or it could be an academic one. The ultimate objective of any type of research is that to provide information. To provide information to whom? To provide information to the decision maker, to my client. Say, for example, if your client is approaching, if your client is asking, can you do a research on Tata Nano? Can we relaunch Tata Nano? The decision maker, I mean, the Ratan Tata is not asking whether to say yes or no for Tata Nano. We need to provide necessary information. Necessary information, what is the market potential of Tata Nano? How much sales that they can regain? What is the price point? What are all the models that they need to come up with? Based on that, Ratan Tata will decide whether to relaunch Tata Nano or not. So now this is the ultimate objective of any kind of research for that matter. So basically, it starts from data. The data, you'll be getting it from the target audience, okay? And then with the data, you are analyzing it. And from the analysis, you are actually converting the data into an information. So basically, in data analysis, what we are doing is we are converting the data into an information. Data is very raw. It could be any data for that matter. Say, for example, I may have a data related with yesterday's stock movement. So from that data, does it make any sense? Can I buy the stock? Or do I have to sell the stock? Or do I have to hold the stock? That is what we call it as decision. So that decision can come only when I analyze this data. So this process is what we call it as research in terms of data analysis. So the real purpose of data analysis is that you are actually converting the data to one information. Right. Now, with this understanding, we actually get into a very, very important topic in research called measurement and scale. Now, basically, when it comes to data analysis, now the focus of our workshop, the 6-day workshop that is on training, is more about data analysis. We are not going to get into other topics of research like literature review or research design. So it's a very, very broad topic altogether, and we are going to focus only on a particular chapter called data analysis. Now, to get into this chapter, we need to have some understanding about the data that I am having. Say, for example, if I'm talking about my height and weight, that is also a data. Gender, that is also a data, right? Nationality, that is also a data. Or if at all, if I'm taking a data from stock market, that is also a data. So based on that, the data can be classified. So that means depending upon the type of category or the magnitude of the data, there is some classification for it. Okay, and that is something which what we call it as levels of measurement, or the measurement and scaling. So basically, one important thing that you have to understand is that in research, there are two important terms. We call it as measurement and scaling, right? Now, is there a way that I can see the participants also? I'm just checking so that I feel that I'm more connected with the this was very, very new. 1 minute, 1 minute. Okay, fine. Yeah, this sounds good. So that I'll if at all, if somebody is asking anything in the chat, I can all right. So now one thing is that when it comes to measurement and scale, this is very important in data analysis. To make it simple, what is meant by measurement? Measurement is nothing but a kind of, before I explain this, can somebody tell what is the meaning of the term measurement and scaling in research, sir? When you're designing this question or whatever it is, what is measurement and scale? Any understanding we have prior to that? Measurement and scale. Yes, no, maybe.
Sir, I think,
Yes, sir.
sir, I guess a measurement is something like we are measuring the size of particular business, or scaling means we are measuring how much we can scale that particular business.
Scale measurement, what you have said is perfectly right, sir. Scaling, could you please repeat?
Means how much we can, like we are measuring the growth.
Okay, fine. Yes, okay, yeah, yes, I know you. Okay, I thought some. Okay, now let's say, for example, this is a pencil. Okay, what is the length of this pencil? Okay, what is the length of this pencil is what we call it as measurement. Okay, this is what we call it as measurement. So basically, this measurement, no, you will be telling, no. Say for example, when you're going to a tailor, he'll be measuring the shoulder length, how long is your hand, so all those things he will be measuring. That is what we call it as measurement. So it may be in the form of centimeter, inches. Okay, that is what we call it as. So it is nothing but a number that I am giving it to a particular object. Say for example, I wanted to check my weight. I'm standing in the weighing machine and it weighs 70 kg. So that 70 kg is what we call it as measurement. What is scale? Scale is nothing but the tool that I'm using for measurement. Say for example, when I wanted to check my weight, what is the tool that I'll use? Yes, what tool that I'll use?
Weight machine, sir.
Weighing machine. But I may not use the same tool when I wanted to measure the length of my hand. That time I'll be using a tape. If at all I wanted to measure the length of my laptop screen, the diagonally I'll be measuring. I'll be telling it as 5.5 inch, 15.5 inch, something like that. Now, this understanding. Now slightly extrapolate this research, this concept in terms of questionnaire. See, for example, somebody wants to measure and scale what type of gender that I belongs to. Now, that in that case, if I say that I'm male, that is measurement. What question that I have asked? Please indicate the type of gender that you belong to, male, female. That is what we call it as scale. So in research, when you are asking a question, that is what we call it as scale, or we call it as scaling. And when somebody is choosing the option, that is what we call it as measurement. And this can be anything else. So the response is measurement. The question what you are asking is what we call it as scale. The reason being, scale is nothing but the tool that we use it for measuring. So when somebody is giving this measurement of, it could be age, it could be gender, it could be height, it could be weight, it could be anything else. So now this can be classified into four broad categories, four broad classification. The type of measurement or the type of data that I have collected is what we call it as nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Now I'm not going to spend so much of time on this because I assume that some of the participants should be having this knowledge already, right? The reason, but we wanted to standardize all the participants at one level. That's the reason that I'm brushing it up, so that let us be very clear on the concept before we get into SPSS tools, right? So this data that I have collected, the data of gender, the data related with my height, weight, okay, whether satisfaction level, whatever it is, okay, maybe you bought a product from Amazon and you're giving the rating as 5 out of 5 or 5-star rating, 4-star rating. All these are different levels of measurement because you are giving the response. This can be broadly classified into four major types, right? First one is what we call it as nominal scale. Nominal scale is nothing but the numbers or symbols that we are used to label the object. Say for example, when it comes to nominal scale, it could be gender or it could be marital status, okay, etc. Look at this particular screen. Now you can see that Virat Kohli is having number 18 jersey, okay, Dhoni for 7 and Sachin Tendulkar for 10. Now, can I say this Virat Kohli is better than Sachin Tendulkar because his t-shirt is 18 and 18 is greater than 10? No. So the number what you are assigning is just the label. Some kind of similar kind of measurement that you will come across when you're getting the response. So that means the nominal scale is nothing but the kind of response which is categorical in nature. Can somebody tell me what are all some of the response that you will give while you are filling the questionnaire or that you have given which are categorical in nature? Can I get it from the participant? So nominal scale is nothing but whenever the response that you are giving which is a categorical in nature, the one which you are classifying, say for example gender, marital status is an example. So apart from this, can somebody tell me any other examples apart from this which is very, very categorical in nature? Which is very categorical in nature. Can I say nationality? Yes. Or when it comes to income, if I'm capturing the data in the form of category, lesser than 2.5 lakhs, 2.5 lakhs to 5 lakhs, 5 lakhs to 7.5 lakhs, that is also category. So any kind of response that you are capturing it in categorical form, that is what we call it as nominal scale. And here I'm giving the number, it is just for a labeling. I will be collecting the data of gender, male and female. Male I'll give 1, female I will give 2. So that doesn't mean that female is better than male or male is better than female because of the number. So the number is just for the labeling purpose. Now this understanding that we need to have when it comes to nominal scale. Second type of scale is what we call it as ordinal scale. Ordinal scale is nothing but a kind of ranking scale. The ranking scale, the simplified form of ranking scale is what we call it as ordinal scale. Say for example, I may give you an option of I am A, I am B, IIPM, and RBS Business School, and I may ask you to rank it. And obviously, you all will be giving 1 for IMA, 2 for IM Bangalore, and 3 for maybe a business school like IIPM. This is just a kind of number that I have assigned. Now, when you are collecting this type of response, and when you are giving this kind of response, the kind of level of measurement what you have got is ordinal in nature because it is in terms of order. Now, what is the potential drawback of this ordinal scale is that the difference between IIM Ahmedabad and IIM Bangalore is not the same in terms of quality. Okay, is not the same between IIM Bangalore and IIPM. Right. So IIM Ahmedabad and IIM Bangalore may be having less distance in terms of quality. The gap between the quality of IIM Ahmedabad and IIM Bangalore may be very, very less compared to the gap in terms of quality between IIM Bangalore and IIPM. So now this has not been captured in ordinal scale, right? So now this is one potential drawback in ordinal scale. So to overcome this, we have some other scale called interval scale, where what we do is we not only able to give some kind of ranking, but we are able to give some kind of weightage for the ranking in terms of interval. Say for example, if I'm giving you a choice of how do you rate IIM Ahmedabad from 1 to 10 or from IIM Bangalore from 1 to 10, so you may give up something like 10, 8, 5 and 4. Now you look at this, the quality gap between IIM Ahmedabad and IIM Bangalore is very, very less, that is true, but the quality gap between IIM Bangalore and IIPM is a little bit more, whereas IIPM and RBS is almost similar. So this is something that I can easily capture through an interval scale. So again, one more concept which we have to understand is that when it comes to interval scale does not have this absolute zero. The zero in interval scale is an arbitrary zero. Say for example, in our case, if I say that the temperature of my room temperature is 0 degree, that 0 degree does not indicate that no temperature. When it comes to weight, if I say 0, which means that I don't have any weight. But when it comes to temperature, there is nothing like 0 degree. So in many times you will come across people who are giving this Google review, okay, they will be asking, I'm actually waiting for 0 rating, that I'm not able to find the 0 rating. That means it is a kind of interval scale. So interval scale will not have 0 in it, right? And all this rating scale, especially if it is above 7 or above, we can call it as an interval scale, right? Okay. The fourth type of scale is very easy to understand, that is ratio scale. Ratio scale is nothing but we are actually capturing the raw data. If you are capturing the placement of IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, the real numbers, you can do all kind of arithmetic operations. Say for example, if I'm mentioning my height, weight, if let's say that if a student is getting 100 out of 100 in exam, another student is getting 50 out of 100. So that means that the student who has got 100 out of 100 is twice intelligent than the student who has got 50 out of 100. So I'm able to compare one student with another student in terms of multiplication or division. That's the reason that I have used this ratio scale. But this advantage that I don't have when I'm having this interval scale, right? So now I'm sure that you would have got some understanding of about different levels of measurement, because when we are going to use SPSS, the moment you look at the data, I'm sure that you should be in a position to understand what is the level of measurement it is, or what is the type of scale that the question belongs to, because based on that only I will be in a position to use a kind of analysis that I wanted to use, right? Okay. Okay, now, so this, okay, one more thing which you have to understand is in nominal scale, okay, in nominal scale, I can do only addition, I can only count. Say for example, if I have got in our, right now we have some 22 participants. Let's assume that maybe we may have some, maybe some 10 female faculties and 12 male people are there. So 12 male and 10 female. Now, let's say that I'm giving 1 for male and 2 for female, okay, just for numbering purpose. Can I do any kind of arithmetic operations like mean? Can I start adding all ones and start adding all twos and find out mean and say that, okay, the average class mean is 1.8? Does it make any sense? Absolutely no. Absolutely no, because it doesn't make any sense. So only operation that I can do with the nominal scale is that count, report, okay, 10 males and 12 females, over. This many number of participants are wearing specs. These are not wearing specs because it is categorical in nature. So gender, marital status, you can't use this mean, median, mode, all this fancy test I can't use. Ordinal scale, here naming is there. Here not only you can do counting, you can do one more operation called percentile, not percentage, percentile. When this CAT score is there, CAT examination is there, people will be getting the scores in terms of ranking. So somebody who has got 100 percentile in CAT doesn't mean that he has got all questions right. It indicates that he is #1 ranker in CAT examination. So now that is also a kind of scale which we call it as ordinal scale. So now in ordinal scale, you just don't only count. You can do this median also, median operation that you can do. Interval scale, here you can count, you can do arithmetic operations like median. Apart from this, you can do addition and subtraction. So that means among the options, you can compare one option with another option in terms of interval. Say if I go back to this particular option, I can say that IIM Ahmedabad has got 10 out of 10 rating, whereas IIM Bangalore has got 8 out of 10 rating. So that means IIM Ahmedabad has got 2 points extra than IIM Bangalore. This kind of interpretation that I can make using this interval scale. But I can't say that in interval scale, I can't compare one option with another option in terms of multiplication or division. I'll show you this. Say for example, in this case, IIM Bangalore has got 8 out of 10, RBS has got 4 out of 10. I can't say that IIM Bangalore is twice better than RBS Business School. Absolutely not. Why? The reason being, it may not be twice, it may be thrice or 10 times. So I can't compare one with another in terms of multiplication or division. I can always compare one with another in terms of addition or subtraction. So you can do addition, subtraction, okay, and there's counting, median, those operations I can do this interval scale. Ratio scale is the ultimate nirvana. You can do all kind of arithmetic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, multiplication and division. More importantly, this multiplication and divisions I can do with respect to one option, with respect to another option. Say RBS Business School, maybe they will be getting 5 lakh. IIPM they got 10, so I can say that IIPM has got twice a better package than RBS. So that option is there. So now this is what we call it as ratio scale, right? So how do I identify a ratio scale? Ratio scale examples, you can just look at this. You can get an example of age, income, revenue. Interval scale, all attitudinal scale, like 1 to 7 rating or more than 7 rating, ranking scale or ordinal scale. So I'm sure that you will get more understanding of this type of scale the moment if you're analyzing a question. That I will do that, okay, maybe today or maybe tomorrow. And apart from this, there is something called different type of questions, that is scaling technique, which you can take a screenshot of the scaling technique and you can do a small homework in your home so that you can learn what is this Likert scale, what is the semantic differential scale, staple scale. So basically in scaling technique, we are comparing comparative scale, non-comparative scale. So these are all different ways of you asking the question. Level of measurement talks about the data. Scaling talks about how you have to collect the question. You can collect the question in terms of rating. You can collect the question in terms of semantic differential, or it may be in terms of ranking, or in terms of paired comparison. So these things you can do. You can. This has to be a separate subject called research methodology, which we cannot cover it in our session. Right? After this, we are getting into another topic called type of variables. Now, till here, is it clear for everyone when it comes to the level of measurement? Anybody is having any doubt on this? Everybody is clear on this level of measurement, or anybody is having any doubt? I'm sure that already we made a if at all if you're faculty, you may be aware of all this. But in case if you're a student, anybody is having any doubt on the level of measurement? Yes? Okay, I assume that you don't have any doubt. Fine. Next comes the type of variables. The next comes the type of variables. Now, when we say the variables, we can classify 5 different type of variables. Now, I'll explain those 5 different type of variables with a small example. Now, one type of, say, we have 2 variables. One is what we call it as majorly, we call it as an independent variable and dependent variable. What do you mean by this independent variable and dependent variable? Independent variable is something which has its effect on the dependent variable. So the one which is affected is what we call it as dependent variable, and the one which is affecting is what we call it as independent variable. Now, how do I understand this? Let me take 2 variables. Variable number 1 is salary and variable number 2 is job satisfaction. SPSS does not know which is affecting what or which is being affected. We as a researcher, using our common sense, we have to feed this data in SPSS. This is dependent, this is independent, like this. Now in that aspect, we all know that salary is the one which affects job satisfaction, not the other way around. This is a normal common sense. So the one is what the salary is, we can categorize as an independent variable, and job satisfaction is what we call it as dependent variable. Let me give you another example. Let's say that study hours and exam score. Can somebody tell me which is independent variable and which is dependent variable? In this case, I have 2 variables. One is study hours and the other one is that exam score. Can someone tell me which is independent variable and which is dependent variable here? Yes? steady hours and exam score, which is independent variable and which is dependent variable. Which affects what? Does exam affects the steady hours or steady hours affects the exam? Yes, no, it is the steady hours which affects the exam score. So I can say that steady hours is the independent variable and exam is the dependent variable. Exam score is the dependent variable. So now this is how you can classify whether a variable is an independent variable or the dependent variable. Second aspect is that I'm bringing one more variable. Okay, why salary affects job satisfaction? This question comes, right? Why salary affects job satisfaction? Because salary gives a better lifestyle. Say for example, I've got 5% increment, but the inflation has gone up by 10%. Do you think so I'll be happy? No, I will not be happy, because the salary that I have got has not made any difference in my lifestyle. So this is what we call it as mediating variable. What is mediating variable? It is that variable which shows the reason for the relationship between salary and job satisfaction. That means why salary affects job satisfaction? Because salary provides a better lifestyle, and this better lifestyle in terms affects the job satisfaction. So the mediating variable is a kind of variable which shows the reason for the relationship between independent variable and dependent variable. Okay, I'll give you another one scenario. Let us say that for few people, it is not just the salary affects the job satisfaction. Okay, sometimes the tenure in the organization, that means it is not, so this actually moderates the relationship between salary and job satisfaction. So salary affects job satisfaction, true, but it may be for a fresher. For somebody who is an experienced person who has been there for 15-20 years, it is, this relationship may not hold true. You can take an example of a gym. A person goes to gym, he may reduces his, I mean, he may get some result. Okay, he will get a good physique, but this relationship does not hold true across all ages. For an youngster, it will work, but somebody who's very old, he may not be able to see that kind of result what an youngster will get. So now this is what we call it as moderating variable. So moderating variable, okay, it actually tells the strength of the relationship between independent variable and dependent variable. Mediating variable is something which gives the reason for the relationship between independent variable and dependent variable. And independent variable is something which affects the dependent variable. Dependent variable is something which is being affected by the independent variable. Apart from this, you will also come across a variable called extraneous variable. Those are nothing but which is not at all related, which is no way related. Say for example, when it comes to salary, salary may not be dependent on someone's weight. That is what we call it as extraneous variables, a kind of variable which does not have any relationship or which does not affect any of the variables in any way is what we call it as extraneous variable. Now, I'm sure that these two concepts, okay, type of variables and, sir, can you please explain variable again? Fine. So is there any specific variable that you want me to explain, ma'am, or any, I mean, I'm sure that everybody should be aware of independent and dependent variable. You want me to explain mediating and moderating, or any specific one? Okay. See, basically we can categorize the variable both independent and dependent. Independent variable is something which affects the dependent variable. Dependent variable is something which is being affected by the independent variable. Of course, I'm not getting into the structured definition of independent and dependent variable. With the name itself, you can easily categorize which is an independent variable and which is a dependent variable. And the best way to identify is our own common sense. See, when we talk about two variables will go together in the positive direction or move together in opposite direction. But which is affecting what is something that can be identified only using our common sense or because of previous literature review. See, for example, you found two friends. One was good guy, another one was bad guy. But a time came, both of them started bunking their class. Now, in this case, the logic says that the bad guy, the bad student, would have influenced the good student. Now, the bad student is what we call it as independent variable, and the good student is what we call it as dependent variable, right? So I'm sure that you would have got it. Don't get into the structured definition. We are very particular about our own understanding of the concept. Mediating and moderating is something which we have to be very clear on it. Mediating means which tells the reason. What is the reason why both of them are related with each other? Why independent variable is affecting the dependent variable? Why? That why question mediating variable will give answer for it. Moderating variable gives the strength of the relationship. Say, for example, let's say that effectiveness of online class. If you have a good lecturer, a good student, the level of participation or the level of understanding will be more. But it has its own time limit. It's not like you have some 4 hours or 5 hours of FDP program. After 2 or 3 hours, people will get into retirement mode. So that means here, the moderating variable is the time of the online session. You can see that many of the online sessions, initially the participants will be very, very good. There is no problem. Lecturer is good, knowledgeable person. Participants are also participative. But beyond the point of time, they get into a retirement mode. Either the lecturer is interested in continuing, he'll be just reading the slides. The participants also know they'll be doing their own work, they'll be eating food, they'll be having tea, they'll be just logged in, putting it in their pocket. The reason is there's no problem with the lecturer or there's no problem with the student. The problem is with the time. So that is what we call it as moderating variable. Mediating variable, same lecturer, the participants. Lecturer and the participant. Why there is a relationship? Maybe the lecturer is a knowledgeable person. The participants are very active. So this why is the reason it will be given by the mediating variable, right? So this mediating moderating is something which you will be able to understand not just only because of your common sense. The literature review will give answer for it. Now I'm getting into the crux of it. Now what technique? See, I'll tell you. Okay, now look at this. I'll be very happy if you could read this case and give your answer. What is independent? Just have a look at the screen. I'm actually elaborating the screen. I'm sure that everybody, yeah, just have a look at the screen. And all right, connect. All right. Okay, just have a look at this. This is a small exercise. For the below research finding, identify all the variables and classify them into independent, dependent, moderating, and mediating variable. Now, just read it. You'll be able to understand. Service quality has a major impact on customer satisfaction in healthcare sector. This in turn leads to better loyalty among customers, more so if the service is affordable. This is true, especially among elderly people and educated and salaried women. Now, can somebody tell me what is independent, dependent, mediating variable, and moderating variable? Okay, I'll give you 1 minute time. You can take your paper or whatever it is, read it once, and I'm sure if you're able to classify this, then if at all you're doing a research project or your internship or your PhD, you can easily classify which is dependent, independent, mediating, and moderating. Yes, I'll give you 1 minute time. Okay, now I think first one is easily anybody can say. What is independent variable? Which is the independent variable here in this case? Which is independent variable in this case? You can say or you can put it in the chat. Which is independent variable in this case? First one. Service quality, yes, ma'am, you are perfectly right. Service quality is the independent variable. Okay, I'm sure there won't be any confusion on this because that's the first one. The first statement is service quality has a major impact on customer satisfaction in healthcare sector. So service quality is the independent variable, right? Second one, what is the dependent variable here? Variable or variable, whatever.
Customer satisfaction.
What is the dependent variable?
Customer satisfaction.
Okay. Yes, says it is customer satisfaction. Any other answer?
Loyalty.
Who said loyalty? Loyalty is the answer. Of course, I do agree that it is also customer satisfaction, if at all, if I have only the first sentence. Now here I have three sentences. It's actually a complete case. So you have to consider all the variables. Now, service quality is the independent variable. Loyalty is the dependent variable. Now, which is the mediating variable? Yes?
Customer satisfaction.
Which is the mediating variable, sir?
Impact, sir, I think.
What it is?
Impact.
How
Sir.
to identify that a variable is a mediating variable? Ask the question why between independent and dependent variable. You will get the answer. Why service quality affects loyalty? Somebody has already said it is service quality. Another person has said it is loyalty. True, perfectly right. Why service quality gives better loyalty? Why? The answer is the mediating variable. Why it is giving better? Why people are going to DMart? Why they are having a law? Why you have good loyal customers of DMart? Why people are going regularly to DMart only, not to Big Bazaar or not to any other hypermarket? Why? The answer is mediating variable. Sir?
Customer satisfaction.
Yes, that's how it is. Why people are going for Flipkart and Amazon only? Why people are ordering product only in Myntra periodically? Because they are satisfied. That's what it is. So independent variable is customer service quality. Dependent variable is dependent variable is loyalty. Okay, and mediating variable is customer satisfaction. Directly, independent variable directly affected. Okay, I'm not getting everyone. Okay, independent variable. Okay, fine. What is moderating variable? It's a slightly bit tricky. Moderating variable.
Affordability.
Sorry, sir.
Affordability, sir.
Affordability, yes. You can also include educated and salaried women. So what is this? Moderating variable is the relationship what we are having between the service quality and loyalty. The relationship whatever I am having between service quality and loyalty, this relationship holds true. The conditions apply, will be telling no, that star symbol. That is what we call it as moderating variable. This relationship holds true provided if it is affordable. This is common only among educated and salaried people, right? So now I'm getting so much of responses. Fine. Reasons for dependent. So reason for dependent and independent. Okay, fine. So the reason for dependent and independent variable is mediating variable. Okay, the scenario, moderating variable talks about the scenario, the situation. When that situation is not there, the relationship does not hold true. That's what it is. See, people are loyal customers of DMart. Why? Because they are satisfied. People are loyal customers of DMart so long as DMart does not increases the price. Increase in price or decrease in price of the product is the moderating variable. Customer satisfaction is a mediating variable. So that context is something which talks about the moderating variable, right? So we can't afford to spend so much of time on these topics. So but I think all of you have given the right answer. Okay, fine. So now, so two things we have actually covered, which is related to our SPSS. One is that the type of variable, how to identify which is an independent, dependent, mediating, and moderating, what is the way for it, what is the technique for it. And second one is that how do I find out what level of measurement that my data belongs to? Is my data is nominal, ordinal, interval, ratio, what exactly it is? Now, for your understanding, though I have classified 4 different type of data, for us 4 different levels of measurement in SPSS. In SPSS, we will be having only 3 levels. One is nominal, which is nothing but a categorical in nature. Nominal is very, very easy to identify. It is in the form of categorical form. Second one is ordinal and interval, they have clubbed, and we use the term called ordinal in SPSS. So that means if at all if you have some data, you should be smart enough to classify whether it is ordinal or interval. And the fourth type of data is ratio form. Okay, the one which you can do arithmetic operation, everything that you can do, raw data. Okay, so now these are the 3 different levels of measurement that we have it in SPSS. We should be able to identify, and you should choose the option accordingly. And this one is we will be using it if at all if you're using something like regression, and when you're doing this mediating and moderating analysis with that. And then we need to have an understanding of about the data analysis also. Now slowly I'm actually getting into the data analysis part. Now one is that whenever we do data analysis, we always talks about hypothesis, which is not necessary. Data analysis, we can broadly classify them into 2 categories. One is we call it as descriptive statistics, and another one is what we call it as inferential statistics. What is this descriptive statistics is which describes the characteristics of the population. Now in our session there are 25 participants out there. So 25 participants is descriptive statistics. Another one, in our class there are I can say that 15 male and 10 female faculties, descriptive statistics, of which maybe 10 may be faculties, another 10 may be Ph.D. research scholars, another 5 may be MBA or BBA students. Descriptive statistics. So this descriptive statistics, it captures the data of the population and it reports. And this report, it can report in any form. It can report in the form of mean, median, mode, table, charts, in whatever way it is possible. So something which describes the characteristics of the population is what we call it as descriptive statistics. We will be using tests like mean, median, mode. It could be bar chart, pie chart, whatever it is. It basically gives a summary of the population. Inferential statistics is, as the name suggests, where you are actually predicting the characteristics of the population through the sample. We are actually predicting the characteristics of the population through the sample. Let us say, for example, in the last 2.5 years, we can say that almost all the faculties, I think they have struggled a lot in terms of online lectures, and you can see that majority of the students, they don't participate. Those students, they participate well in the offline class, but the students, they don't participate in the online class. Maybe they may be listening. I'm not telling them they are not listening, but the participation level is very less. Now, with this, I can generalize that no, doesn't matter whether the student they are from, I am also the same thing. That is what we call it as inferential. So now I am actually generalizing the student psychology with my class. If the participations are less or if the participations are more, based on that, I'm actually generalizing. That is what we call it as inferential statistics. And when you're generalizing, that generalization is what we call it as hypothesis. So now I'm sure you will be able to understand the role of hypothesis. So hypothesis is something, it talks about the characteristics of the population through the sample. What exactly it is? I'm taking a session for 10 students. If the online participation is good, I'm drawing a conclusion that students are very good in general in the online class. I'm not talking about those 10 students. I'm talking about the students across India. Or let's say that if the online participation of the student is not good, I'll say that no, students, they don't listen in the online class. Doesn't matter whether they are from Bangalore or are they from Delhi, students are generally like that. That is what we call it as inferential statistics. This generalization when I'm making, it is written in the form of statement, and that statement is what we call it as hypothesis. And to make that statement, to prove that statement, I use certain tests, and those tests could be correlation, regression, ANOVA, titers, all those things we will discuss. So before that, let us have some understanding of about hypothesis. This is going to be extremely crucial, not only for MBA or BBA students, but also for the research scholars, because I could see that many of the research scholars, they go wrong in terms of hypothesis alone. So I want you guys to pay attention for the next 10-15 minutes for this hypothesis section alone. Now already I have told you that when it comes to hypothesis, I use the hypothesis to generalize the characteristics of the population through the sample. So basically, hypothesis is a declarative statement which talks about the characteristics of the population through the sample. I repeat it one more time. It is a declarative statement which talks about the characteristics of the population through the sample. In hypothesis, I don't talk anything about the sample. Sample, already the data is there. Hypothesis, I predict the characteristics of the population, right, in the form of generalized statement, right? Now this is what hypothesis is all about. Say for example, in our room, I say there is a ghost in this room. This is what we call it as hypothesis, and based on what I'm telling, those may be a sample. Now when it comes to hypothesis, basically there are two types of hypothesis. One is null and another one is alternate hypothesis. Now what is this null hypothesis? Basically the word null is void, no, okay, negation, negative. Normally a rule of thumb, this is very important, null hypothesis, we bring the concept of null hypothesis only for statistical purpose. We will start with alternate hypothesis for our research. That is why alternate hypothesis, I also call that hypothesis as research hypothesis. Generally, researcher, they wanted to study the relationship between one variable with respect to another. This is the most of the time people use hypothesis for this purpose only, to find out the impact of one variable over the other variable, to find out whether these two variables are related or not. Now generally, are we interested in proving the relationship or not proving the relationship in general? Tell me, sir. Generally, are we interested in proving the relationship between variables, or generally we are not interested in proving the relationship between two variables when you are doing research work? What is the general motive of a researcher? Yes? Generally, are we interested in proving the relationship, or are we interested in not proving the relationship? Yes, you can put it in the chat also, not a problem.
Relationship.
Generally, are we interested in proving or not proving the relationship? Forget about research, all those things. When we are doing internship, or are we interested in proving the relationship or not proving the relationship? I'm not able to hear anything. Okay. Yes. Okay. Interested in proving the relationship. Now, that is what we call it as alternate hypothesis. Or this we can also call it as, this I can also call it as researcher hypothesis. So you start your hypothesis with an alternate hypothesis. Null means what? Negative. So normally we'll be using the word called there is no relationship. there is no relationship between salary and job satisfaction. There is no relationship between X and Y. So we do a research to prove that there is a relationship. What is the relationship? There is a relationship between GDP and inflation. Okay, alternate hypothesis or research hypothesis. Null hypothesis, there is no. So that means null hypothesis in general. I'm not telling the exceptions. In general means 8 out of 10, we will be putting the statement in the negative form. We will be using words like no difference, no relationship. Please make a note of it. When I say no difference, it indicates that both the groups are equal. That is the reason why whenever I talk equal, you will find that mu1 is equal to mu2, or this mu1 is equal to some value. So two wordings I will be using in null hypothesis. Either I will be telling there is no relationship, or I will be using no difference between two populations, which indicate that both the mean is same. Say for example, after the 6 days workshop, we are talking about the effectiveness of the training program. Ideally, the knowledge about research should go up after attending the training program. What is null hypothesis? What is alternate hypothesis? If I am framing this alternate hypothesis, I will say that students has learned more after attending the training program. What is null here? Null is that they have not learned anything. What do I mean by that? Mu1 is equal to mu2. That means before attending this training program, what was your knowledge? After attending the training program, what is the knowledge? If the knowledge is same, that indicates that I am not able to reject the null hypothesis. That means I accept that the training has not affected at all. Now this understanding we all need to have. So write it somewhere. The null hypothesis, I will be using the symbol like equal to, which means that there is no difference. I will also be telling that there is no relationship. Okay, this is a rule of thumb. There is a separate explanation for it, which is beyond research methodology, which we have to get into stats. Right? This is the rule of thumb. How, in what way that we have to frame the hypothesis. Another one is, okay, I'm not able to go to the next screen. All right, down, okay, right. Another one is what after understanding this null and alternate hypothesis, we also need to have some understanding of about errors. So I told you that hypothesis comes into picture when you're generalizing the characteristics of the population through the sample. Now, when I'm generalizing, I may not be 100% correct. I may be correct 95%, 5% I may be wrong, or I may be right 99%. 1% I may be wrong, or I may be right 90%, 10% I may be wrong. Now this 5%, 10%, 1%, how does it occurs? There is not so many reasons, because I'm not God to say that because of the number of sample, the sample size is small. That could be the reason why this error has occurred. Okay, or it may be possible that I have picked someone randomly, whom I have picked, it may be a good student or a bad student. So for so many reasons, whenever I'm generalizing the characteristics of the population through the sample, for any case, I am prone to make some 5 to 10% or 1 to 10% of mistake for any reason, for any number of reasons. It may be a sampling error or non-sampling error that I'm not going to get into that. Now this error can be broadly classified into two types of error. One type of error is what we call it as type 1 error, and another type of error is what we call it as type 2 error. Now it is for the students especially. Now whenever a faculty is giving internal marks to the students, the faculty can end up making two mistakes. One is that he may end up giving less marks to a deserving student. What, Yash? Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Right. Another one is he may end up giving more mark to someone who does not deserve. Say, for example, somebody who has not attended the class at all. He end up getting, I got 90 out of 100 internal marks. Another person, which is more painful. Which is more painful? Of course, both are painful. I'm talking about in terms of error. In terms of error, the faculty may end up not giving good marks to a deserving student. Another case is that he may end up giving good marks to someone who does not deserve. This is what we call it as type 1 and type 2 error in hypothesis. I'll give you another example, a very, very common example, which is easy to comprehend. Okay, look at the screen. Are you able to see the screen?
Sir.
Right. Now look at the screen. This H0 means it is null hypothesis, the 0. Okay, H1 indicate that it is alternate hypothesis. Now look at this type 1 error. If a doctor says that to an old man, because basically he's a man, that you are not pregnant, that is also wrong. Look at the second image. A lady doctor says to a woman who is already pregnant, and she says that you're not pregnant, that is also an error. This type of error is what we call it as type 1 error, and this type of error is what we call it as type 2 error. Now let us understand this through hypothesis. Now H0, null hypothesis, please remember I have told you how you have to frame the null hypothesis. Rule of thumb, look at the bottom of the screen. Rule of thumb, since null is negation of the truth, mostly we frame null by using words like not or no, or we equate with other group or value. Now in this case, how should you have to frame the null hypothesis? Do you have to say that man can be pregnant? No, you should use the word not. Okay. Okay, right, I will. So now man cannot be pregnant. Now don't ask me, sir, why did you use the word not in null? That is the rule of thumb that I have already told you. Null, you have to use the word called not, no, or no difference. Okay, so that is what I have mentioned it as null hypothesis. Man cannot be pregnant, or man is not pregnant. Alternate hypothesis, man can be pregnant. Now here, the doctor is committing type 1 error as he is rejecting true null hypothesis. Now look at it. If you have done a mistake of identifying null as man can be pregnant, the entire type 1 error will be wrong. That's the reason you have to follow the rule of thumb always. Whenever you are framing null hypothesis, ensure that your null hypothesis has words like no, not, no difference, okay, no relationship. These are some of the common words. Of course, some exceptions are there that I will discuss a little later. Similarly, null for the other one, woman is not pregnant, is the null hypothesis. H1 is woman is pregnant. Here the doctor is committing. Here, what is the doctor committing? Here the doctor is committing type 2 error as he is accepting the false null hypothesis. So in this case, the first one is rejecting man cannot be pregnant, which is actually the true. In this case, the null hypothesis is true in type 1 error, but the doctor is rejecting the null, true null hypothesis. In type 2 error, the lady, the doctor is accepting the, sir, will you get the video recording and okay. Okay, in this case, type 2 error, the lady doctor is accepting the wrong hypothesis. Now, I'm going to ask the same question in terms of COVID. Let's say that somebody who is not having COVID, person A, patient A, patient 2, he is having COVID. Okay, patient 1 is not having COVID, patient 2 is having COVID. Write a note. Can somebody tell me what will be type 1 error and type 2 error? patient A, you can write it in a paper. Patient A is not having COVID. Patient B is having COVID. Now patient A not having COVID, patient B is having COVID. First, what you have to write is that what is null hypothesis here? Null hypothesis here in both the case is a patient not having COVID is the null hypothesis in both the case. That is something that you have to write it in a piece of paper. Then only you will be able to understand that which comes under type 1 error and which comes under type 2 error. You do this exercise and we'll discuss it in our tomorrow's session. Right. So now, any doubt on this? Any doubt on this before we go on to next? This is very important. This many of us we don't have the understanding, and mostly we will go with type 1 error during analysis. We don't discuss much about type 2 error. And anybody is having any doubt on this, sir? This type 1 and type 2. Anybody wants to have any other clarification on this? Anybody wants to have any clarification on this type 1 and type 2 error? Any further explanation is required?
No, sir.
Right. So we'll be discussing practically when we are doing it in SPSS. So now in SPSS we are going to focus on type 1 error alone, which talks about are we rejecting the null hypothesis? Are we not rejecting the null hypothesis? Now the question comes. So on what basis you say that you are going to reject null hypothesis or not? It is based on something called level of significance and p-value. What it is? Very important question. I told you that I'm going to reject the null hypothesis. I'm going to reject the true null hypothesis based on what? Based on something called p-value. Now you find this one, right? So this is a normal distribution curve. So normal distribution curve, this point, the point which is on 3, no, we can call this as the critical region or the region where we reject the true null hypothesis. Rejection. This is the rejection region. Now to fix what is the space and how long it should be, that is actually decided by something called alpha, and that alpha is what we call it as level of significance. Most of the time this alpha value is 5% for a single tail test. Okay, it may be 2.5% on one side, 2.5% on the other side, if at all if you are using this two tail test. And when we are computing this p-value, and if we are fixing the level of significance as 5%, what do you mean by this 5%? I mean to say that whatever I'm telling about null hypothesis is right, but I'm prone to make this 5% error mistake. And what I find out in this p-value is if the p-value is lesser than 5% or if it is lesser than 0.05%, I reject my null hypothesis and I accept the alternate hypothesis. If it is above 0.05%, that means in this case I accept the null hypothesis. Now this is what I have mentioned it in the slide. You please make a note of it, otherwise you memorize it. Okay, or otherwise the best way is that you understand it through logically. For the rule of thumb, fix up some alpha value. It may be 5%, 1% or 10%, and the SPSS will give you the output of p-value. If the p-value is lesser than alpha value, it means that you are actually rejecting the null hypothesis. So we are accepting the alternate hypothesis. I'm talking in terms of type 1 error. Then you look at the p-value. Let's say the p-value is say 1 or 0.1, which is obviously greater than 0.05, which means that in this case I'm actually accepting the null hypothesis. So I'm rejecting the alternate hypothesis, right? So now this is something that you need to understand. There is another concept is also there. I think no. Sorry.
Sir, in this alpha means nothing but a p.
Sir, 1 minute. Sir, I'm not able to hear. Let me. Yes, sir. Tell me, sir. Yeah.
So alpha. Yes, sir. Alpha means nothing but a p value.
No, alpha means level of significance. There is one mark is there, no? Here.
Yeah. Okay,
you can take it as an alpha. That arrow is there, the one where my cursor is there.
Sir, how will you take the 3 points?
No, don't get carried away by this 3 and all, sir. Don't get carried away. This is just the arbitrary number what they have given. Here,
Okay.
normally it is 5%. If you are fixing, see, first you have to fix the alpha, that is level of significance. Mostly researcher keeps 5%. Mostly 99% of the researchers, they keep 5%. Now this is what we call it as alpha. So once you see, first you have to draw a normal distribution curve. Number one, step one. Step two is that you have to fix what is the alpha. Let's say that you are fixing the alpha, which is nothing but the level of significance, and then you have
That
to
means
shade
observing
that
statistic.
region. Sir?
P means observing statistic.
No, sir. That's what, sir. Second step is that alpha is the level of significance. Level of significance. And then by using SPSS, we will get the p value. Okay. And if the p value, if it is lesser than 0.05, that means it could be 0.01 or 0.03 or any value for that matter, obviously it will be falling in that rejection region. So which means that I'm actually rejecting the null hypothesis. So basically you have to draw a normal distribution curve, fix up the level of significance, which is 5%. 5% means somewhere on the tail you have to draw and find out what is the p-value using SPSS. That we need not to do that manually. If at all you are doing it manually, we'll be using some tables and all, which we need not do that. If the p-value is lesser than 0.05, which indicate that we are falling in the rejection region. So this blue one is the rejection region, and the one which is white in color is the acceptable region. I'm talking about the one-tailed test in this case. Okay, so that's why we say that if the p-value is greater means it will fall here. Okay, that white colored one. This is the, because greater means if it is 0.1, that means it will fall here. So this graph is not a true representation of the explanation what I'm giving. Okay, so let me check if at all, if I have some tool, I'll be in a position to draw. Okay, wait, sir. Okay, now I'll try to draw through a tool. Wait. Okay, now this is the, now you're drawing a bell curve. Now first thing is that you have to fix up this. This is the alpha. Okay, this is the alpha. This is 95% of the one. Okay, this is 95%. This is 95%. Okay, this is 95% of the bell curve. This is one tail one I'm drawing. Here it is 5%. This region is 5%. That is 5% of the total tail. So now this you are fixing it as 5%. One tail test. This is 5% here. Now then through SPSS you are actually finding the T or Z test, and from that you are finding out the p value. Okay, p value. This 5% indicate that, which is equal to 0.05. Oh, I'm not able to draw this. 5% means it is 0.05. If it is lesser than 0.05, that means it is 0.02, 0.01, which means that you are actually rejecting it. Rejecting what? Rejecting the null hypothesis. Right? Hope, is it clear, sir? Through online, this is what best we can do. Draw this.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Yeah. So you can go through that. If at all further, if you're having any doubt, we can discuss it tomorrow. Anyhow, it's a 6-day program. Nothing to worry on this. Okay. I think you will get more clarity when we are doing some kind of hands-on session on this. Okay. All right. So other one is which I wanted to cover before we wind up, though we may take some 5 or 10 minutes extra. When we are doing this inferential statistics, another concept which we all need to understand is, this is very important. I think I'll clear it. Cursor here. Wait. Okay. Another concept is that we are very much concerned about the type of test what we are using. Okay. In general, we will be classifying the type of test as a parametric test or a non-parametric test. Now, I'm going to explain each and every line what is meant by parametric test or non-parametric test. I wanted to take up these two, one very okay, very importantly. Now this one is what? This one. These two assumptions are the major assumptions for the parametric test. In general, parametric test is something which actually talks about the characteristics of the population. Okay, here when we are doing this inferential statistics, we will be having two different type of tests. One is parametric test and non-parametric test. What is parametric test? When the data that we are having is normally distributed. That means when the dependent variable is normally distributed, and when the dependent variable is either in ratio or in interval form, that we call it as a parametric test. When the dependent variable is not normally distributed, okay, and when the dependent variable is either in categorical form, we call it as a non-parametric test. Now, make it very simple, sir. Parametric test should have two conditions. The dependent variable should be normally distributed and the dependent variable should be in continuous form. If it is not fulfilling any of these two conditions, it automatically falls under a category called non-parametric test. We do have different type of parametric test and different type of non-parametric test. It's equal. So parametric test like independent sample t-test, paired sample t-test, ANOVA, and it has its equivalent for it. So in case, if let's say that you have collected a data which is in continuous form, you have collected height and weight, but the height and weight that you have collected is not normally distributed. That means I should not use a parametric test, rather I should use something called a non-parametric test. Don't worry. So in case if it is an independent sample t-test, the equivalent, the equivalent parameter non-parametric test I can use, like Mann-Whitney's test, paired sample t-test, okay, sign rank test, and then ANOVA I can use Kruskal-Wallis test. So like this, we have for specific parametric test, we have an equivalent non-parametric test, so that we can do that during SPSS session, right? And then I'll also show you that 1 minute. Okay. Now here, this table, I want to take a screenshot of this table. This will be extremely useful to know which type of test that I have to use for which type of variables. Now you can see that we have already learned what is this independent variable, what is dependent variable, okay, levels of measurement. So based on these two things, I am actually categorizing what type of technique that I need to use. You can take a screenshot of this, right? So based on that, I can choose it. Then finally, okay, what is the kind of takeaway of today's session? Takeaway of today's session is that what type of test that I'm actually going to use, it is actually dependent on the type of variable, whether it is independent, dependent, okay, mediating, moderating. Measurement of the scale, whether it is nominal, ordinal, ratio, interval. And third, whether the data is normal or not. And fourth, what is the application of it. Based on these four things only, I'm actually going to choose which type of data analysis technique that I'm going to use for my data. Right. So today I had 2-3 agendas, like importing data, but unfortunately I feel this is very important, which we cannot ignore it. So meanwhile, I will also share you the one form, Google form, which I wanted to share, which we will be using it for our 1 minute for tomorrow's session. Okay, now Google form, how do you find it out? Here it is. 1 minute. Okay, you have to do down. I'll have one form which I will share that form. We are going to import the data based on your result. That's what I'm actually survey on. Okay, now this is the form which I wanted to share to you. I will share this form. So tomorrow, so this form has, you will look at this form. It has a lot of questions which you want to answer it. Okay, and I'll give you one small exercise also. You please put it in the bracket. What is this age? So tomorrow I will ask, say for example, age. So age, when you're giving, let's say somebody is giving 25 or 30. So obviously, is it a nominal scale, interval scale, or a ratio scale? Height, is it nominal, interval, or ratio? Those things that you have to make a note of it for all the 10 type of scaling. So this activity that I'm giving it to you today, and I'm also requesting you to please, fill this form, and so that we will be, wait. So I will share you this link. Okay, this link. Okay. Okay, now where it is, where I can. Okay, now please fill this form. Please fill this form and identify the level of measurement. Okay, see, hope is it clear? So please take it up very seriously, because you will be finding a lot of lectures in YouTube. I'm not telling that you are not able to find any of the lectures on SPSS, but the difference what it makes when it comes to training is that when it comes to training, they'll be giving some kind of assignment. So do that religiously. I'm sure that you'll be able to learn better when you're doing this kind of assignment. So please fill this form, which will take only a minute. More importantly, you please make a note of what type of level of measurement that all these 10 questions belongs to, right? Right. So with this note, we will wind up today's session. Any doubt before we wind up? Anything you wanted to say? Yes. So that's it, Raja sir, from my side.
Okay, sir. I think there is no queries, I think.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Today we have exceeded the time because of the magnitude of data that we need to cover. So can we wind up the session, sir? Raja sir?
Yeah, yes, sir. No issue, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for
So this link you please also circulate it in your Google, this WhatsApp group also.
Yeah,
so
yes,
that
sir.
we will
Yes,
use
sir.
it for tomorrow's session.
Yeah,
Sir?
yeah. Noted, sir. I will share it, sir. Noted, and I will share it.
Right, sir. Right, sir.
Okay,
Okay,
sir.
thank you once again. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for an informative session, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, participants, for your cooperation for this day one on SPSS training. And thank you all. Then we will meet tomorrow by 2 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
If you have any queries regarding anything related to this webinar, you can make it in WhatsApp also, that group also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, bye, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you. Bye.